Hello, hello, hello. I'm over my computer, so we're just going to use the phone from now on. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Tina. And sorry about the technical difficulties, but thank you for tuning in and joining me. I had so many questions submitted this week, and I'm excited to go through them with you all. Still lots of heavy stuff going on in the world, and I know for me personally, it's been a lot. And I'm just doing my best to listen with an open mind and be considerate of lots of different viewpoints. And yeah, but I know everybody's feeling it. I've talked to a lot of clients, and it's just, it seems like we're getting hit with back to back stuff and junk in the world. And, hopefully all of these lessons that we're learning and the awareness that's being raised is going to shift our world into a better direction. And that's what I'm hopeful about, is that we're kind of gaining a platform to start talking about really hard issues, and that it's okay. I haven't felt that way in a long time. So I'm glad, some of this is opening doors for voices. Hi, Alice from Houston, Texas. My brother used to live in Houston. He just well, it's been a few years now. They moved to Colorado, but they sold their house literally weeks before the big flood that you guys had. And wow. So yeah, I have been to Houston. It is too hot there. If it were not for the heat, I would probably be in Texas. I love Texas, but hi, Abby. So yeah, and Baltimore, Maryland. Hello, hello. Lots of people joining us. Let's see, what was I gonna say? Oh, we had a great for those of you who are in the good morning, Randy. For those of you who are in the state chapters of One Mom's Battle, we had a positive success, kind of, or on the way to a success story, hopefully. So much of this is an isolating journey, and we know that, making connections. Orange County, making my sister lives in Yorba Linda, so I actually come down to Orange County pre-pandemic pretty often. We'll see what this new world looks like, but it's beautiful down there. So much of this is making connections and talking to other people who are in your local court systems. And those connections can be really powerful if you're exposing corruption. And there's kind of a question that ties into that, and I'll talk more about what I see as a success story, or something moving in the right direction. Turnwater, Washington. I did a retreat up in Washington. Where was it? I don't remember, but it was beautiful and I loved it. And we got snow really early in the season, and they said that was unheard of, but it was beautiful and my kids got to see snow. So anyway, let's get started. I had lots of questions submitted this week, which is really great. If you want to submit a question that we can talk about next Saturday, please do. You can send it to CoffeeDateWithTina@gmail.com. And I want to let everyone know in advance, I will be gone. I'm going to look at the calendar. I will not be having coffee with everybody on July 4th. I'm going on a road trip with my family, and we're going to be very safe. We're staying at a VRBO, and I'm excited. We'll actually be in Sedona. So We're going to take advantage of hiking and outdoor stuff and get away for a week. So mark that one off your calendars. The first question that came through is, my ex is constantly demanding time outside of our custody agreement. How would you handle this? So first, I have to give my little fine print disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not qualified to give legal advice by any stretch of the imagination, but I love to share what I see in the court system, what I've experienced in the court system, and what I would do if I were personally in your shoes, experiencing the same situation. And so many of these situations I have experienced. Um, so my ex is demanding time outside of the custody agreement. This cute little lemon cup is from my friend Sue. I love it, and it holds so much coffee. It's great. I have faced that situation so many times. You know, it's truly mind-blowing to me. It'll never stop shocking me how these people, they never give up. They're constantly pushing boundaries, court orders. You know, I think when you aren't shocked by it, you become part of the problem. You know, so I will never stop being shocked by the lengths these individuals will go to. So for me personally, if my ex was constantly, and he has, you know, even when we had supervised visits in order, I remember there was a time when the supervisor wasn't going to be available for Easter weekend. And my ex-husband emailed me. She had already told him no visits on Easter weekend. And he was like, hey, maybe we could just meet at a park and I can give the girls their Easter baskets. And I'm like, were you not in the courtroom for the past 4 years that we've been fighting because you're not a safe person? I am just at a loss for how to even respond to this. It's so bizarre. How did you get supervised visits? I'll try to circle back to that because I think that's an important topic to talk about. But what I would say to my ex-husband is, you know, keeping in mind, for me, everything I put in writing was, my mentality was, it was to the judge. I didn't care. He just, in my mind, was a middle person. So I pictured myself writing to the judge and CCing my ex-husband. And my go-to phrase was, I look forward to getting to a place in our co-parenting relationship where we can be more flexible. However, we're not there right now, and I intend to follow the court order as it's been written. In my opinion, what the judge sees when he reads something like that is, you know, she's not horrible, rigid. You know, so many of us, even when we're trying to follow the court order, we get blamed for being, you know, they want to see everybody compromising and flexible and getting to that place where you can sing Kumbaya together. And it's just not realistic. So what I hope the judge reads when I say something, I think I just cut out for a second because my husband called. Hi, Glenn, but he must not know I'm on live. So what I would hope the judge would read is that, you know, she's not a horrible person. She's hopeful. You know, she's not part of the conflict. She's putting it out there that she wants to get to that place, but this is not somebody who respects boundaries. So she's adhering to the court order as her boundary. And so for me, that's how I handled a lot of those situations. And it's hard, you know, because, and what I tell people is, if you aren't going, and I don't recommend, or I don't advise, or I would never operate outside of the court order. If you ask the other party to switch weekends with you, you're basically creating a gray zone where then if you know, want to hold the other party accountable for violating the order or not sticking to the order, you've muddied the water. And so when you go in the court and the judge is like, neither one of these people are honoring the court order, so I can't really find him at fault if she's deviating from it also. So for me personally, I learned pretty early on that I stick to the order as hard as it is, and it's caused some major issues when it comes to weddings that I needed to attend or things like that. But I want to keep the lines very clear so that I don't muddy the water. I'm going to answer the question about supervised visits before I go on to the next one here. How did I get supervised visits? I'll tell you that experience in itself is its own special roller coaster. There's no easy, rule book. This is what you do to get there. For me, it was my ex-husband putting my kids in jeopardy multiple times, leaving them unattended in a car. They almost drowned in a swimming pool. He got pulled over for a DUI once. And what I or really violating the court's order. One time it had to do with him lying to me about where the girls were sleeping. The judge had made it really clear, you need to provide her with an address where they will be. That was after, a year of not knowing where my kids were, where the judge finally cracked down on him. And what I found with supervised visits is that they use it as a slap on the hand. It's never, I remember the first time I got it and I was so relieved. And I had an attorney tell me, don't get your hopes up too high. This is used as a temporary punishment, but supervised visits never last more than 3 months. And that, kind of took the wind out of my sails, and I went, well, I don't know. I'm somebody who I'm like, I will not entertain negative. I'm like, okay, I hear you, but I'm going to stay focused. For my kids, I know supervised visits are the best thing. And so I plowed through. He was right. They did give him another chance again and multiple chances. And then once I got supervised visits for more than 3 months, then the attorney told me, because I had somebody I consulted with in the background, and he told me, that's great, but they won't order them for more than a year. That's unheard of. I'm like, okay, well, right now I'm just going to stay focused on this year, and then sure enough, a couple more, attempts at court, and they finally said permanent supervised visits, and so it's chipping away at it, and that's what I would really hello, thanks for joining in. That's what I would really share with everyone is that the reality of family court in almost every state is 50-50, and there are all kinds of other realities, like maybe supervised visits aren't permanent typically, but my mentality has always been, great, if that's what your guidelines are, I'm just going to keep chipping away at it. And I'm a really stubborn person by nature, and especially when it involves my kids, I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to accept that 50-50 is what's best for my family. I'm just going to keep chipping away at it until we get to the point where my kids are safe. And that's where I am today. But and I know that's easier said than done. I'm sure there are people out there rolling their eyes, and they have absolute horror stories of the courts, and that's also a reality. I feel very blessed to be where I am today. And I know it's not the norm, but I do hear other success stories and I hear them often. So, wherever you're at in your custody battle, stay hopeful. That's what we have to hold on to is hope and faith and, staying positive and staying focused on your desired outcome, whatever that looks like. Okay, second question. What is first right of a refusal? I've heard different things. Is it helpful in a parenting plan with a narcissist? And I encourage all of you, I'm by no means hold all of the answers. If you have personal experience based on um, anything that I talk about, comment. This community of people is so amazing. And some of you, I learn from other people and comments all the time. So please share your experiences. If you feel comfortable, chime in, let other people know how you've handled situations. This is a group effort, and I will never claim to know everything. So, first right of refusal basically means that if the other party has the child, or if you have the child and one of you needs childcare, you have to give the other side the first opportunity to take the child. And then if they turn that down, then you can place the child with a childcare provider. Let's see, reading comments. I see first right of refusal work out really well for some people, and then I see it backfire in a big way. And some people go in fighting for first right of refusal and then drop it after a while. And then it comes down to the judge, like with anything in family court. If you have a judge who already recognizes that your case has a lot of conflict, they may not be inclined to do first right of refusal because that requires additional communication between the two of you. And I know from personal experience, it opens the door for a whole bunch more conflict. You've got, if you have a 4-hour first right of refusal, that means that if you need childcare for above 4 hours, you have to allow the other person. But if you need childcare for 3 hours, you don't have to go through the other person. Um, but then you've got people having PIs follow the other party to say, well, our first right of refusal is for, 4 hours or 6 hours, but I had a PI follow and they actually used childcare for 8 hours. And so you can see where that could cause additional conflict. There are some judges who will say, across the board, they only do 4-hour first right of refusals. There's others who will only do it for overnight visits. Um, it just, I see positives and negatives. So I think it's really comes down to your situation. If you're someone who doesn't need childcare on a regular basis or ever, it could work out really well for you. But if you're going to be needing childcare as well, there's sometimes where you just choose your battles, and that may not be one of them. But it's such a personal thing. No judgment anywhere in this. Next question. My narcissist ex refuses to buy a car seat for my toddler. Am I allowed to deny visitation due to the safety issue? So many of these issues put our kids at risk, and those are battles that personally I would fight. What I would probably do if I were facing the same situation, and I have, my ex used to let my 6-year-old ride in the front seat without a car seat. It just blows my mind. And it's, those things where he was manipulating her, and saying, mom's so uncool. Look how fun it is with dad. You get to ride in the front seat, which is highly illegal. But, those are the types of things they do just to poke at us. And then by the time the child comes home and says, hey, I've been riding in the front seat, and then it's just, hearsay. How do you get that admitted into the court unless someone has witnessed it, called it in, those types of things. So for me, if my ex didn't have the appropriate car seat, and especially when we're talking about a child that young, I would immediately send a message engaging in conversation, keeping in mind that I'm writing to the judge, not to my ex-husband. So really being conscious of my wording and not looking high conflict. Hey, Seth, I just wanted to reach out. I have some concerns. Little Logan is only 2. Here are the state standards for child seats. And, is it that you can't afford to buy one right now? I'm happy to loan you mine during your visitation or during your parenting time. But I am, Hi, Gigi. Thanks for joining us. Kind of setting the stage that I'm willing to help. I'm putting my child's safety first. I'm willing to loan out my car seat. I'm willing, to do whatever it takes to make them safe. So I'm calling it out by documenting it, by engaging him in conversation. That would be my first step. And then if, if my if I had an attorney and he had an attorney, I would probably escalate this to attorneys to deal with, and because that's a safety issue and that crosses major lines in a variety of areas. So that's a battle I would choose to fight. My ex hasn't paid child support in at least 6 months. What can I do? Um, There are so many. Oh, good. You joined your state chapter. That's awesome. There are so many people struggling with the child support issue right now because what do we know about narcissists? They all have a really strong victim card. Um, Gigi just said, CPS does not care about car seats. I tried. And I think it's like with anything, it depends on who you get. There are going to be some who care. There are going to be some where they're seeing such crazy levels of abuse that it doesn't even register on their scale. And then there's going to be the ones who are just so corrupt that it's a lost cause with the car seat issue. But child support, they all need a victim card. And with this pandemic, talk about some pretty heavy victim cards that they've just been handed and are using. It breaks my heart. There are so many out there who are already struggling to get by. And when you are connected to that other person financially and in need of that support, and then something like this happens, and that the courts are giving a lot of grace right now. First of all, some courts aren't even hearing financial issues, and then others are giving a lot of grace because this is something that's affecting all of us so heavily when it comes to finances that, it's that whole how do you bleed a turnip situation. CPS, I couldn't read that one. But anyway, the child support issue is something that I dealt with for years. And the first few years, it was a game to him, and it's a way to hurt you. The financial abuse, it's one of the things we talk about on the post-separation abuse wheel, which if you have not downloaded this, go to the One Mom's Battle Instagram and click on the link in my bio, and then you can scroll down to post-separation abuse wheels and download this. But one of the big ones is that financial abuse, the games, the deceptions. It's our livelihood a lot of times that are on the line, but they get a high off of knowing that they're hurting us. So it's a recipe for disaster. I found our child support agency is so inept to the point where this last year I actually somehow received a forward, I think my ex-husband did it, of communication between himself and I'm at a loss for words today, and the child support worker, and it blew my mind. She was telling him, oh, it's so unfair, fathers should have an active role in their kids' lives, and I can't believe you've been through this. And he's just waving the victim card back and forth between, I took it to the top, she got taken off my case. Just the level of brokenness within that child support system. Some people use their attorneys to collect, but right now it's such a difficult time. In the big picture, child support can really end up being leverage for you in a variety of ways. I know a lot of moms, and I use the word mom or she to describe survivors a lot because that's my personal experience, and 99% of my The people in my groups are women. So my apologies. I know this does work both ways. Um, I have so many clients and followers who have said to the other side, you know what, let's set 50-50 for financial calculations, because we all know that's why they want 50-50 custody, or it's a big part of why is for financial support calculations. And so many people that I work with have said, hey, let's make this a moot point. Let's set it financial calculations that we have 50-50 custody and put an end to this. And then let's have the schedule. If you agree to that, we'll have the schedule at this. Obviously, you need your attorney to guide you on that. There are legalities involved. You don't want to make it look like you're bartering money for human life. So be really careful when proposing those scenarios if you decide to go down that path. And definitely consult with your attorney on that or anything. So the child support issue, one of the biggest frustrations for me, because I'm watching him in Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic and, traveling all over, boasting about it on social media because he can't help himself. And meanwhile, I'm not getting support. I'm going to food pantries to feed my kids. It's so broken. And some states really have good child support laws. I think Arizona might be one of those, but California child support laws, and I don't know where you're at, but boy, do they suck. California has some issues. So the next question is, I just received a very biased custody evaluation. What can I do? This ties into the success story that I mentioned at the beginning of our live today. One of our state chapters, for those of you who are new, private groups on the One Mom's Battle Facebook page. Each state in the US has its own chapter. There are hoops you have to jump through to become a member. And if you're interested, you can go to the One Mom's Battle website, click on the blog, and one of the most recent blogs, it has a globe and it says OMB worldwide chapters. Join your state chapters, because we just had a situation like this, and I'm not going to say what state it was in, but somebody posted yesterday, thanking me for creating these state chapters, and said, because of these chapters, I've now connected with, I think she said 4 or 5 other moms who had the same custody evaluator, all completely biased against us. And now they've joined forces, and that's where change happens. So I know Orange County has an incredibly corrupt court system down there. Contra Costa County, the whole state of Texas is insane. Florida, and there's a lot of, I know from sitting in my local courtrooms, who, if there's a specific attorney and a custody evaluation is on the table, I know who that attorney is going to choose for an evaluator, because he has them in his back pocket. And so I can predict the outcome just sitting there in court watching, but that's because I'm entrenched in my local system. And that's what I would encourage everybody to do. Get involved. That you have to. You will start uncovering circles of corruption. And it can range from just, handshakes on the side, good old boys networks, to complete blatant corruption within the system. So coming together, talking about these things, and joining forces with others who are being screwed by this broken system is so important. And calling it out and filing complaints. I know of a case in my area where the dad, who is complete sociopath, his therapist is writing letters on behalf of his client, but has never met the children, has never met the ex-wife, and he's really putting his license in jeopardy by the things he's putting in these declarations for court, based on one side of the story. But his letters have had such an impact on this case, and I just helped her to find the chain of command, and how do you report him? How do you hold this person accountable and prove that he's violating the ethics of his profession, and putting children in harm's way while doing that? So, really get involved and start speaking up. There's power in numbers. And, you know, 10 years ago, I felt like I was the only one in the entire world going through this. I truly believed that, which is why I titled my blog One Mom's Battle. So connecting with all of you and these communities, and one thing I say is the narcissist does a really good job of screening people who make great friends because they all go, they go for the people who are honest, kind, trusting, just good people who have the ability to show empathy to an extreme, sometimes to a fault. But those people that they've pre-screened for us, that's where these communities are so amazing, because connecting with some of these people can be so helpful in your battle. Let me see, what else was I going to tell you about? I'm starting my co-parenting group. I think I have 4 spaces left. That starts on June 20th, and it's called Lemonade. Um, Lemon A-I-D, get it? Lemonade. It's a co-parenting, basically support group, and I have no agenda. We're going to do a Zoom call once a month. It'll be on the 3rd Saturday of every month, and come together, get to know each other. I have a private Facebook group set up for these people. They're already in there, because the Facebook group is live, even though we haven't started yet. And yes, thank you, Gigi. Um, Even though we haven't started yet, they're already getting to know each other in the private Facebook group, and supporting each other and sharing. And so if you want to claim one of the last spots, you can email me at tina@tinaswithin.com. Hi, Susan. Susan Jones from Virginia. Uh, yeah, tina@tinaswithin.com, and just put lemonade in the subject line, and I will get you the details on that. I've created a couple of new online courses for July. One of them is mediation. For those of you who, in most states, mediation is a requirement, and I have a different perspective than most. I think mediation with a narcissist can actually be very helpful if you have if you're managing your expectations appropriately. If you think you're going to go in there and solve all the problems, that's kind of on you. You're not managing your expectations appropriately, but there's some strategy, and I think that it can be successful in a few different areas. And then also, one that is probably one of my biggest heart projects is the online course on safeguarding your case against alienation claims. Um, Alienation claims are the number one claim of the abuser. It's a way for them to, you've suffered and your kids have likely suffered from horrible abuse of a variety of different areas during the relationship, and they know that they're in a losing position with that. And so the way that they can completely turn the tables and put the spotlight on you is to say that you are alienating the kids, and you are the problem why they don't have a bond with the children. That is terrifying. Their bond with the children, or their lack of bond with the children, is based on their own, actions, and, that they never cared. They're not capable of having a bond with the kids. But all of a sudden it becomes your problem. And I do see moms mainly lose custody over alienation claims. So we're going to talk about enmeshment, um, gatekeeping, those are kind of the lesser alienation claims, but they're all in that same category. And so, how do you, especially if you're new to this battle, how do you safeguard your case against these claims? Because I'll tell you, the reunification camps, family bridges, higher roads. Oh, there's another one. What the heck is it called? Overcoming barriers. These camps are like something out of a science fiction movie where your children are met by people called deprogrammers. They are taught that all of the abuse that happened to them was not real. It's organized gaslighting and brainwashing, and it terrifies me, and it should terrify everybody. And we have to jointly come together and put a stop to these alienation camps and this alienation movement. It's complete junk science, and it's very, here's the thing. I am very pro dad. My dad raised me. I welcome healthy fathers, but the fathers' rights camps and organizations are causing more damage to the family court system than anything else. And they are funding and driving this alienation BS, which is having a detrimental effect on our kids. And so I feel very strongly about it. I'm very vocal about it. And so now I'm going to start offering an online course every month to help you safeguard your case. If you're interested in that, you can go to the One Mom's Battle website and click online courses. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. You really have no idea how much this Saturday morning thing lifts my spirits. And yeah, so I'm thankful for each and every one of you. Even if I have 45 minutes to be a part of your journey, it's an honor. And go out there and be the rock that your kids need you to be. And somebody said, as soon as you mention father's rights, they jump on you. Oh, I'm going to get all kinds of hate mail today. I can guarantee it. And it's okay. I just practice my princess wave.